All right, shalom, shalom. I'd like to start off first and foremost by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Ruach HaKodesh. Double honors to our elders and the apostles, great males, don't rule and teach well. Peace, love, salutations to those that are doing this work in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Nathaniel from Dreamers Camp Atlanta, coming back at you through the Spirit with another lesson. And I pray and hope this lesson is edifying. Okay. Now, I'm going to start off with this precept. This is Deuteronomy 28 and 48, and it says, "Therefore thou shalt serve thy enemies which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in the want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron around thy neck until he have destroyed thee. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the ends of the earth, as swift as the eagle flieth, a nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand. A nation of fierce countenance, which shall not regard the persons of old, nor show favor to the young." All right. Now, you have videos out now where you see, people asking questions about why, are we paying for food and water and things of that nature, uh, in an earth where, I'm gonna let the guy speak, but in a place where everything is abundant, everything is free, everything is supposed to be given to us, no, well, it was given to the Israelites. Okay. The Lord did make it to where, he said we were, the chosen people. Now look at this. So when you go up, right, it says blessings, and it should say blessings and curses, but it says uh, 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 Gerizim, okay, whatever that word, however you pronounce it. But anyway, it says that it shall come to pass, in verse 1, Deuteronomy 20 and verse 1, it shall come to pass that if thou shalt hearken diligently unto the voice of the Lord, thy power to observe and to do all his commandments, which I command thee this day, then the Lord thy God will set thee high above all nations on the earth. And you notice it didn't just say above, it says on high above. So high above, which means there's a distance between us and them. All right. Now, the curses were put upon us for disobedience against the Lord. Okay. And there were a lot of, see right here, it says consequences of disobedience. And it says, "And it shall come to pass that if thou will not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy power, to observe and to do his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day, then all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee." So there was a blessing for obedience and a curse for disobedience. Okay. So when you come and you're living in America, you're living in this world that we live in, right? And this system of payments, it's a curse primarily for Israelites. However, it affects the whole world because you got to pay for, everybody has to pay for everything, right? In a world of abundance. Okay. So now people are like, wait, why we got to pay for stuff? Why do you own this? This was here before you were born, generations before you were born. How do you own it? How do you own the water? How do you own the air? How do you own this? How do you own that? How do you own this? When this was given to mankind or the Israelites, because the world was created for our sakes, why was it given? Why do we have to pay for it? Well, I just told you why. For our disobedience. Okay. So I believe this video here is AI. However, he makes some really good points. Okay. So I'm gonna go ahead and there's a lot of AI videos like this. He might not be AI because he does have a channel. So it may not be AI. All right. But anyway, this is the
Who
video
gave them
right
the
here.
right to charge
So I believe it's AI though.
us for water and land they didn't create?
But it might not be. So it's,
Who gave them the right to charge us for water and land they didn't create? We should not be paying anything for our existence on this earth. Let that sink in against everything that you've been taught. Because the most insane idea humanity ever normalized is that you owe money simply for being alive. You were born here without consent on a planet you did not create, under a sky that no government ever hung, breathing air that no corporation manufactured, and somehow you start life already in debt. That's not normal. That's not moral. That is not even sane. Explain to me how land became owned. Explain how water became a bill. Explain how shelter became rent, movement became a license, and rest became something you have to earn after selling most of your waking hours. They didn't just monetize labor, they monetized survival. And the moment survival has a price tag, freedom is gone. Because if you must comply to be allowed to live, that is not choice. That is coercion, wearing a suit and calling itself civilization. And don't insult people by calling this just how the world works. That phrase is the psychological gag they stuff in your mouth before they tighten the leash. Miss enough payments and watch how fast the mask drops. They don't just take your house. They don't just shut off your utilities. They take your mobility. They take your dignity. They cage your body, all because you failed to keep up with the subscription fee for being alive. That's not order. That is a threat backed by force. Work itself is not the enemy. Contribution is natural. Humans have always built, always grown, always created, and always shared. What is evil is when contribution stops being voluntary and becomes a condition for survival. What is evil is when fear of hunger, homelessness, and medical neglect is used as the whip. And that fear is not accidental, it's engineered. It keeps you obedient, tired, and arguing with your neighbor instead of questioning the system that's draining you dry. No moral system, none, can justify charging human beings for access to the earth they were born on. If a system requires you to earn the right to exist, then that system is illegitimate at its core. And if hearing this makes you uncomfortable, good. That discomfort is the sound of a lie cracking. You're not lazy for questioning this. You're not crazy for feeling it's wrong. You're dangerous because you're starting to realize the truth. You were never meant to pay for your own existence. Thanks for listening and subscribe for more. Who gave them the right to charge us for water and land they didn't create? We should not be paying anything.
All right. So, well, I mean, we live in a world where it's controlled by the wicked. So, let's go to the book of Job 9:24. All right, and it says, "The earth is given into the hands of the wicked. He covereth the faces of the judges thereof. If not, where and who is he?" Okay, so this is a fierce nation that does not regard old or young. It don't care. It only cares about making the money, keeping themselves in a position of power. They don't even care about their own. They don't even care if one of their own was to fall on hard times. They would start looking at them as the rest. These are the people that are in power right now. They're the wicked. The earth has been given into their hands. Okay? There's no way that you can get around the fact that the earth has been given into the hands of the wicked elite. And these elite rape, rob, steal, and destroy. Okay? They rape, rob, and steal, and destroy. All right. So I'm gonna go to Micah 2:2. Let's. You know what? No. You know what? I'm gonna come back to that. All right. Here we go. So let's go to John. We're gonna go back to that Micah 2:2. All right. But let's go to John first. All right. Let's go to John 10:10. All right. It says, "The thief cometh not but for to steal and to kill and to destroy." Okay, this is Esau is nothing but a thief. The people that are in control are thieves. Okay, and the thief don't stop stealing. Right, the thief don't stop taking. Will he gather it? You know, if a thief gathereth grape, would he leave some? Paraphrasing. You know? No, he won't. He's gonna take them all. Esau would, because he's an unrighteous thief. He wants everything. And there are some righteous thieves though. I know you may go, how's there a righteous thief? Well, if I gotta feed my family and you're stealing from me and you're making it to where I can't feed my family and myself because of what you're stealing, and I go out and steal so I can feed my family, what do you call that? Huh? I didn't steal out of malice. I didn't take anything out of out of wickedness. I took it because you're draining all of my resources from me and making it to where I can't survive and feed my children while you sitting here high on the hog. And then you put forth these punishments for people who take when they need, when you're taking what they need. For instance, okay, they say that the average minimum wage, they say, I didn't fact check it, but it sounds about right that the average minimum wage should be about $62 an hour to keep up with the current cost of living, going back to 19 about 1920 or something like that. So if you add up all the inflation between now and 1920, in order for you to be making equal to what it was back then, the value was back then, you need to be making about $62 an hour. The average minimum wage is 7.25. So how could the average person survive? You see? So we live so what are these people going to have to do? Well, they're going to have to find some creative way to get what they need. Now this situation is pushed upon Jake. Now, am I saying that Jake is not wicked? That 2/3 of our people aren't wicked? No, I'm not saying that at all. 2/3 of our people are definitely wicked. Okay. However, the circumstances is pushed upon our people by the ones that are in power, which is the Esau Edom. Okay. And that comes through the curses that I just read in Deuteronomy, the 20th chapter. One in particular is 28 and 48, where it says you should go to your enemies for the want of all things. Okay. Now, the key word in that is your enemies. You're going to go to your enemies for the want of all things. Now, you think your enemy is going to be fucking fair to you? Huh? Do you think your enemy that has control over the land and everything that you need access for, to live your chief things in life, you think he's going to be fair to you? Huh? When this man has a perpetual hatred towards you, Jakes, he even hate his own. So that's why. Okay? When you disobey Yahweh Shem Yahweh, you're subject to the consequences of the Lord. Okay? There's no getting around it. You're subject to the consequences. And Jake is perpetually disobedient. Okay? Jake is perpetually disobedient. Jake don't want to repent. Are we perfect? No. No one's saying that we're perfect. No one's saying that we got it. But what we are saying is we know that we went off, we know that we go off, and we know that we need Yahweh Shem Yahweh to save us from ourselves. Okay? And we understand the circumstances in which the Lord has us in. Okay? Why it's like that. All right? And having to pay for stuff is no uh is a punishment. This is Baruch 3 and 8. It says, "Behold, we were yet this day in our captivity. Thou hast scattered us for a reproach and cursed us and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power." Okay? So the key in that is he made it to where we're subject to payments. This is why you got to continue to pay these damn payments, man. This is why you got to do this. Why you're subject to payment. We're subject to payments because we went the fuck off. It's just as clear as that. We went off. All right? And call all your Yahweh Shemi Shai that we're at the end of this thing and this man's system is about to break down, but it's not going to be before the hell, the most hell that this earth has ever seen starts to happens. Not start to happen before it happened. Thermonuclear destruction, um, mass starvation, disease and pestilence, collapse of governments, okay, collapse of systems, the MOTB, okay, all of these things, all right, and being subject to payments is that goes into buying and selling, a control mechanism. Because if you could just go into your backyard or onto your land and slaughter your cattle or pick your crops or mill your own wheat and corn, right? And then you can go to your neighbors and y'all can barter and exchange things from one another, and you can live without having to worry about the system. Well, Esau ain't got no power. Okay? His power comes through his control mechanisms. All right? This is why the Lord said you should go to your enemies for the want of all things, in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness. Because if your enemy it controls the chief things of life, he essentially has control over you. Okay? So Esau has control over the chief things in life: food, clothing, and shelter. Food, raiment, and shelter. Okay? Those are the chief things. You got to pay rent. You got to buy clothes. You got to eat. So what? Rent is super duper fucking high. Okay? To live. This is the chief things in life. This isn't a luxury. This is just, hey, I just need a place to protect me from the wind. I need a place to protect me from the cold, from the excessive heat, from the insects. I need something to protect me from that so I can rest. Okay? I need a dwelling. Chief things. I need this in order for me to survive properly. Sky high rent. One bedroom in certain areas over $2,000. In other areas, you're paying over $2,000 for a goddamn trailer a month. Then you still got to pay a high ass water bill and a high ass electric bill. Okay? My electric bill is $300 a month for a 3-bedroom place, small 3-bedroom place, and I'm paying $295 a month. Okay? But I understand we're subject to payments, and the one that controls everything is going to charge you whatever he want to charge you. He don't care that you hurting. As he said in the video, he just turn your shit off. You don't pay, I'm just going to come and turn it off. So there's a threat there. Okay? That's like it. Baruch 3:8 again, it says, behold, yet this day we are in our captivity. When y'all Jakes gonna understand that we are still in slavery? We're still in slavery. Can you go out and do whatever the hell you want to do? No. Are you working most of the day of your life? Most of the hours of the day? Yes. Do you have to spend your money to pay bills? Yes. Okay? Even y'all Jakes is so-called balling. Okay? Stop making that money for a little while and see what happened to all of your material things. Look at all of the older athletes, okay, that became wealthy and lived lavish lives in their younger to middle-aged years, and then when they reached their golden years, they broke. Why? Because the bills don't stop, man. The bills don't give a shit about your age. They don't care about your circumstance. They don't care about none of that shit. The only thing the bill care about is whether or not you can pay it. All right, you don't pay it, you lose it. You don't pay your taxes, you lose your home. A home that's supposed to be yours. It's how it's supposed to be yours, but you don't own the authority or title, so it's not yours. It belongs to the state. You belong to the state. Okay, that's what the straw man and the straw man and the what you call it the contractual law, where you have to sign all these adhesion contracts against your will in order to participate. Oh, you want to participate, you got to sign this. You don't really realize that you're giving this man the authority and the permission to do the shit that he do to you. Okay? I was talking to a lawyer the other day, about child support, Title 4D. And I was telling him because, these motherfuckers, I just, came into a little bit of bread and child support took all my money. Talking about something I owed them. They took all my bread. Not all of it, but most of it. Talking about something I owe them money. I don't owe them shit. What gave them the authority to take my bread? Well, because they own your ass, man. You're considered their property. Okay? So you're going to be subject to these child support payments. You're going to be subject to rental payments. You're going to be subject to light bill, gas bill, water bill. You can't go to your own food stores and grab your food. You got to go to their grocery stores to grab that shit because they've taken control over every facet of life. Okay? So this is why, this is why um you got to pay for everything. I don't understand why it's so hard for Jake to get. Jake You want to sit there and you want to try to look around for everything to point except that this could possibly be a punishment from the Heavenly Father, the one that made us. It got to be that. It cannot be that. It could be anything else but that. It could be anything else except the Heavenly Father punishing us. Because I'm gonna finish this off. It says, behold, we are yet this day in our captivity. We still gotta work and answer to the so-called white man. That's slavery, where you just a slave with no bars, where thou hast scattered us for a reproach and a curse, and to be subject to payments according to all the iniquities of our fathers, which departed from the Lord our power. So there it is. We disobeyed, the Lord punished us. Just like you're supposed to punish a disobedient wife. This stupid woman is not supposed to get away with the shit she get away with. Oh, she has a baby in her and she aborted, she gets put to death. She commits adultery, she gets put to death. Okay? You know, she's a lying, conniving woman, she get put away. She don't have access to nothing anymore. Okay? And that's how the Lord did us as a nation. He put us away. He put us into captivity, into slavery. He gave us a punishment because we're likened unto a wife unto the Lord. All right? And then we went off. You see that? The scriptures say the Lord said, I am married unto you. So, you know, so you got to be punished for the shit that you did. What kind of world do you live in where you don't get punished for a crime unless you Esau? But Esau, his punishment, hey, a fugitive and a vagabond is what Esau is. But guess what? Fugitives are people that are on the run from the law. Okay, they haven't really been punished for their crimes. A vagabond is someone who wanders from place to place. Sounds like somebody we know, right? So I'm gonna go back to that Micah 2:2. This is Micah 2:2. It says, and they covet fields and take them by violence, and houses and take them away. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. You see that? So we were sold to the nations, okay, for punishment. But as you can see here, it states that he covets fields and take them by violence. And then after he takes the houses away, he oppresses those people who actually own those houses and that land and takes away their heritage and oppresses their heritage. This is what the so-called white man does. Okay? I know y'all fools can't believe this, but look at the world you live in. And yeah, I said it fools because most of y'all are fools, man. I mean, the answers are right in front of you, but you're still asking the questions. All right? This is Baruch 4 and 6. It says, you were sold to the nations, not for your destruction, but because you moved Yahweh to wrath, you were delivered unto your enemies. You see that? Why? Verse 7. For ye provoked him that made you by sacrifices unto devils and not to God. You have forgotten the everlasting God that brought you up, and ye have grieved Jerusalem that nursed you. For when I saw the wrath of Yahweh coming upon you, she said, hearken, O ye that dwell in Zion, Yahweh hath brought upon me great mourning. Okay, so this was done because we were disobedient and we moved the Most High to wrath. Now, Baruch 4 and 6, right here where it says, you were delivered unto your enemies, going back to the very first precept that I brought out, Deuteronomy 28 and 48. Therefore thou shalt serve thine enemies. Enemies. We are in the land of our enemies. You think that when we get our foot on Esau's neck, do you think that we gonna be nicey nicey this cat? Huh? Do you think we gonna be like, oh Esau, you're just a stand up guy, right? You think we gonna be that way with this cat? Huh? No, we're not. We're gonna put this man into slavery. We're gonna put this man into the most brutal chattel slavery that has ever existed to mankind. That's what we're gonna do. Okay. So this is why we gotta pay for everything. Cause we gotta serve our enemies. We gotta serve out our punishment, man. All right. That's all it is. That's all it is. All right. And for our hey man, call all Yahweh Shimi Al Shai. We're almost to the end of our punishment, and our sentence is coming to an end. As we watch Esau's world crumble, we know that through the spirit and power of Yahweh Shimi Al Shai, he's bringing this man and his system down. Okay, that's what's happening right now before your eyes. But we still gonna be in captivity until the Lord completely releases us. So with that, I'm going to end this off by giving all praises, glory, and honor to Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Makar Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles, great millstone. To the next time, I say shalom.